In the tradition of early America's Minutemen of 1776, who held themselves instantly ready for any attack, today's advanced Minuteman missiles will soon bring to our nation's defense more stamina and power, making it the fastest shot we can get aloft, and fired in salvos, the deadliest, with unequaled accuracy. As this remarkable ballistic weapon began its initial series of flights during the fall of 1964, construction of new test and operational launch sites for this second-generation Minuteman was well underway. This vital progress in strengthening our missile defenses and the continuing expansion and modernization of our ICBM force is the substance of this report. On the morning of September 24th, 1964, at Cape Kennedy, Minuteman II, America's newest ICBM weapon, was flight tested for the first time. In every respect, its performance was a total success. In the ensuing 9 months, 6 more advanced Minutemen were launched from the underground test silos at the Cape and flown without a hitch over 5,000 miles down the Air Force Eastern Test Range. While across the continent at Minuteman Wing 1, Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana, a new squadron was being carved out of the earth as construction began on 50 Minuteman II sites. During this same period, BSD's Project Chalk Talk modified 13 surplus Atlas boosters, refitting them primarily for space research flights. And as vital force modernization programs for updating our Titan II and Minuteman I missiles began to roll forward, deactivation of 158 first-generation ICBM weapons was ordered, a historic event that marked the end of an era. Our initial ICBM deterrent force, now relatively slow-acting, too complex and too costly to be maintained, was being retired. The tremendous task of removing 158 obsolescent Atlas and Titan I missiles from 14 bases across the nation and safely transporting them in missile convoys to storage facilities at Norton Air Force Base, California, was accomplished in less than 4 months' time. The phase-out actually strengthens our missile defense picture. Now, only silo-launched Titan II and Minuteman forces remain in our ICBM arsenal. And with the operational turnover to SAC of Minuteman Wing 5, Warren Air Force Base, Wyoming, our strategic strike force presently stands at 854 operational ICBMs, as programmed, with a total of 4 new Minuteman squadrons at Malmstrom and Grand Forks, well on the way. The operational turnover to SAC of the Minuteman I missiles at Warren occurred on June 30th. In a ceremony attended by military, state, and local dignitaries, BSD officially passed the 200 operational Wing 5 missiles to SAC. Activation at Warren was, in the words of General McCoy,
not only the biggest site activation task that we've had to do, but it's been done the best. And it was completed not only on schedule, but 15 of the 20 flights were completed ahead of schedule.
In the area of site activation, the advanced Minuteman is also playing a starring role. The enormous and complex job of building underground missile facilities is controlled from a Minuteman Action Center at Norton. Surrounded by banks of MINAC status boards, the program director and his staff meet weekly to offer guidance, untangle difficult problems, and coordinate the activities of all the Site Activation Task Force teams in the field. But under the single management concept, which began with Atlas, only one man, the SATAF commander in the field, is totally responsible for bringing each launch site into operational status, on schedule, no matter how tight the deadline. This hilly region near Malmstrom Air Force Base, noted largely for its wheat and cattle ranches, was selected in July 1964 as the site for a squadron of Minuteman II missiles to be co-located with the existing Minuteman I wing. Field exploration, including a careful subsurface investigation, was completed before the onslaught of sub-zero weather. When the BSD facility designs were approved, construction contracts were awarded in time for groundbreaking in early spring of 1965. With an experienced contractor Army engineer team to do the work, the construction of 50 new Minuteman launch silos and 5 launch control centers began on schedule. "650 miles due east of Malmstrom, along the Canadian border, Wing 6, the nation's most advanced Minuteman base, is currently under construction at Grand Forks, North Dakota. With a complement of 150 Minuteman II launch silos and 15 control centers, Wing 6 spreads out over an area of 7,500 square miles. The launch complexes are linked by 1,000 miles of intersite communications cable, a job which previously required 2,000 miles, and by a newly developed medium-frequency ground wave transmission radio system, which provides an alternate command system for the missiles. Good progress has been made at Grand Forks during the report period. The construction of the Wing 6 launch silos and their blast-resistant control capsules goes on 50 feet below the Earth's surface and called for the removal of over 6 billion cubic yards of earth, 3 times the excavation work required at the earlier Minuteman wings. A SATAF project to remodel this former Sage building at Grand Forks has been completed. This facility now serves as SAC Minuteman Wing headquarters. On March 15th, the construction phase of the first flight of 10 launch silos was completed, and assembly, checkout, and equipment installation commenced. The work was accomplished on schedule, even though operations were severely hampered by the area's worst winter and the damaging effects of heavy spring flooding. These men know how to work around problems and deliver the goods. This time, theirs is a tall order, the construction turnover of all 15 Minuteman flights by the first quarter of 1966. Looking out across the Great Western Test Range from their firing line at Vandenberg, 6 other Wing 6 launch facilities were completed during the report period. These are test facilities which will flight test integrated Minuteman II launchers and missiles. The test program at Vandenberg will be completed before the operational sites at Malmstrom and Grand Forks are turned over to SAC. Construction of the test sites was scheduled for completion 6 months to 1 year ahead of the operational bases. This allows unforeseen problems to be solved at the test site before they show up at one of the operational wings. With the construction of Vandenberg Wing 6 test facilities completed in February, schedules call for the first test launch in August 1965, a flight which will prove out Minuteman II as a fully integrated weapon system. Concurrently, the Minuteman Force Modernization Program got underway at Vandenberg with the updating of 2 Minuteman I test sites. This huge follow-on program, involving Wings 1 through 5, will ultimately replace 800 Minuteman I ICBMs with the Minuteman II version of the missile, and the existing silos, launch control centers, and support equipment will be updated to accept the new bird. Overall support of the operational Minuteman weapon system is the responsibility of the Ogden Air Materiel Area, Hill Air Force Base, Utah. In February 1965, BSD began the construction of a Minuteman I engineering test facility here at Hill. Turnover to OAMA is scheduled for late 1965. The Minuteman I facility will feature an instrumented launch silo and launch control center designed to test inert Minuteman missiles and control systems during the entire operational life of the weapon system. And in an area adjacent to the test site, the construction of a Minuteman II test facility has been proposed for 1966. Through test and inspection programs conducted at this Minuteman aging and surveillance farm at Hill, service life of the missile has been extended an additional 3 to 4 years, which will save $415 million in missile replacement costs. The Minuteman aging and surveillance motors are stored vertically in silos and in above-ground igloos for periods from 1 to 10 years, under conditions which closely simulate operational environment. Periodic inspection of these old man motors tells us that time has not yet taken its toll. For example, after 4 years of aging in a storage silo, test performance of this second stage Minuteman motor was excellent. America's most powerful ballistic missile, Titan II, on alert since 1963, is now in the midst of an extensive BSD modernization program. The complicated job of updating 54 missile facilities, which comprise the 6 Titan II squadrons at Little Rock, McConnell, and Davis-Monthan Air Force bases, breaks down into 4 projects: Top Banana, booster modification; RV update, re-entry vehicle improvement; guidance, system modification; and yard fence, launch facility modernization. The yard fence service and engineering project, which started in February at McConnell, will be finished in early 1966 at Davis-Monthan. Its primary mission is to improve facility resistance to nuclear attack by correcting any known hardness deficiencies. The guidance project and updating of the Mark VI re-entry vehicle, introducing changes in warhead arming and decoy deployment, were completed ahead of schedule. At the peak effort, teams worked 2 8-hour shifts, 6 days a week, making sure that each missile complex was off alert for the shortest possible time. To minimize this stand-down condition, Project Top Banana modifies the giant Titan II booster without removing the missile from its silo or unloading propellants. Dozens of modifications are being made, ranging from installation of a huge spring missile retaining device to these small miniaturized circuit boards. Whatever the size, each improvement brings longer life and greater effectiveness to the powerful Titan II weapon system. At widely scattered bases across the nation, many ICBM silos open for the last time, their deadly weapons pointing skyward, not to answer the threat of enemy attack, but the advance of time and technology. On alert since 1959, these giant sentinels have helped keep the peace. Now, their mission is accomplished. Teamwork between SAC and the Logistics Command's deactivation teams, who delivered the ICBMs to special storage hangars near Norton Air Force Base, was responsible for the splendid success of this effort. By the spring of 1965, 149 missile sites had been phased out. As a result, a total of 225 ICBMs have now been retired from operational service, chalking up a savings of about $135 million a year in maintenance alone. Since deactivation began 1 year ago, 27 of these outdated weapons have been called back into service. Under Project Chalk Talk, managed by BSD, 13 Atlas Ds are being converted into space boosters. Following the first Chalk Talk launch in January 1965, these modifications have occurred at the rate of 1 a month to support a variety of space research projects and for testing advanced re-entry systems and anti-missile radar systems. Every missile was carefully inspected from the inside out and often required over 200 repairs to damaged or outdated parts. If necessary, the engines were sent to Edwards Air Force Base for static test firing. In addition, industry teams, directed by the 6595th Aerospace Test Wing at Vandenberg, had to modify the launch pads assigned to Chalk Talk, as well as perform some 20 modifications to the missile itself. As final checkout began, it was evident that total cost savings for the entire project would reach $11.5 million. With new programs similar to Chalk Talk now underway, the remaining Atlas Ds plus 134 E and F models should provide an estimated 5-year supply of space boosters. In the first months of 1965, our strategic strike force became 2 missile generations newer, making it stronger and more powerful. At the close of this report period, the biggest construction job in military history, that of creating a formidable 1,000 missile, 6-wing Minuteman force, moves into its final phase. From the Canadian border, south to the desert missile bases of Arizona, from the Atlantic test silos, west to the operational launchers on the Pacific, vital programs of the Ballistic Systems Division continue, developing, testing, and improving America's great ICBM weapon system.